guys, if you found out your girl was low-key your stalker before you were together, if she's a good person and respects your space, not stalkerish now, how would you feel? Depends on how low the key was. C major, much better than A minor. Stalk back to assert dominance. Op, you should go to therapy. Lol, only Reddit. If you actually look at what they meant by stalking, it's really just normal shit for teens. You need therapy. Y'all ever been outside? I actually more or less experience this every once in a while. I don't have any public-facing social media. As a teen, I never took pictures of myself, https://imager.com/kxa7xxw, and I never really got into things like Snapchat or Insta or anything, just wasn't interested. Girls who I meet at parties or via apps or whatever every once in a while will ask me why I don't have anything online, except news articles of me protesting outside the US Capitol. Lamau. I'm the only person on the planet with my name, so they find my news articles, some elementary school awards, and a Stack Exchange genealogy thread about my great to the power of 8 grandfather. I realize it's really more of a function of girls trying to keep themselves safe, but they like go off into the bathroom and look me up sometimes. I don't know if this is all girls or just my type, but I think a lot of guys don't realize how much stalking, so to speak, goes on the internet. I don't think it's the most healthy start, but Hailey Bieber made it work for her. Lol. Till that Stephen Baldwin is Justin Bieber's father-in-law. I had that happen. I felt awkward and exposed but got over it eventually. I should have known the long-ass poems were a red flag. My good sir or madam, are you sure you weren't playing a certain video game that has both horror, romance, and poems in it? Nah, it was my first girlfriend at 16. Lol. I would be surprised that someone cared about me so much, and appreciate her even more. Low-key stalker just means she had a pretty strong crush. If they respected my boundaries before we were together, then who cares? I guess it's a case-by-case basis. I don't know how stalkerish she was, but it would probably be fine. Just like any woman who has received this behavior from a man who's genuinely interested in her, I would be uncomfortable. Nah, I'd be fine with this because I can handle it. It's happened twice before. Well, look at Mr. Brad Pitt over here with his multiple stalkings. What level of stalker are we talking? Like going through my bank statements and bins and camping in my garden? I mean, I could never personally do that, but however you interpret the question, Lamau. Not quite stalker level, but my GF told me that before we got together, she'd always tried to find herself in my neighborhood in the hopes of running into me. I found that incredibly endearing. TBH. I think I might react to actual stalking the same way. Lol. That reminded me of when we worked together. He would play Pantera and other bands like that on his speaker, so I spent hours listening and learning about them, so we had something to talk about. Pantera is his favorite band of all time. Lol. I see. Pantera, I update. She respects my space now, but you implied she didn't before we got together. What intrusions would there be? Honestly, mild stalking is somewhat normal. Obviously going outside somebody's house or following them around is fucked up, but going on their Instagram to see what movies/hobbies they're into is completely fine, at least in my opinion. Social media is pretty much fair game. Accidentally bumping into each other in public is also fine. When I started leaving my basement suite to a trail of roses leading to the street multiple times in the morning, that was my I'm moving moment. I was telling some of the girls I worked with about it and they were like, do you know how many girls would love this treatment? And I'm saying, yeah, from a guy you know. I got home late and left early, so she knew my schedule and probably came by while I was sleeping. And roses aren't cheap. Or she was raiding a lot of gardens. Either way, I was sufficiently terrified enough to move. So this was a guy or a girl who was doing that? Kinda agree with you on the whole moving thing. Like, when my dad started dating my mom, he literally sent a dozen red roses to her work every Friday. They were just casually dating, and it completely won her over. But coming from someone you don't know? Yikes. My ex stalked this one girl before we got together apparently. I would have liked to know that beforehand cause he was abusive. If I'd known that I would have never dated him. On a scale of waited outside your class so she could say hi to you to Alex Forrest in Fatal Attraction, how low-key stalking are we talking? If she's good and respects space now, then she's probably fine. Fucking run. She may seem cool now, bitch she's probably crazy. I'm heckle only so I'll take what I can get. I'd be a little surprised that anyone cared enough to stalk me tbh. Even then my reaction would entirely depend on how stalkery they were. If we're talking secondary school level stalker I'd probably just go make a cuppa and ask for details to use as fodder for teasing. If we're talking binoculars and a notebook then I'm dumping her ass and getting a restraining order. I would have to severely evaluate the relationship. What was genuine and what was manufactured. And how to tell the difference between the two. Devastating trust issues would arise and I don't think it would last. I can understand that. It felt wonderful, and I wish I would have left my wife for her. I know that sounds weird but my wife was in her third rehab. I had met this person during my second rehab at a retail store I frequented. We talked. When my wife went into her third rehab, I accidentally, or subconsciously, mentioned my son and I went to a certain park every Saturday. She started showing up at that park with her kid. We bonded as friends. She wanted to move it to the next level, asked me to leave my wife. I was a moron and couldn't. That was the last time I felt love. Someone wanting me? Not quite sure how to word it. I'd be wary, high likelihood of being stalked harder when the relationship ends. Wary or leery? Choose one, don't combine them. Weary, greater than feeling or showing tiredness, especially as a result of excessive exertion or lack of sleep. Wary, feeling or showing caution about possible dangers or problems. Leery, cautious or wary due to realistic suspicions. This reads awfully like a young girl trying to tell her friend she was stalking him for a good while. Most guys aren't fazed by a stalker. If she's a stage 5 clinger then there's reason to worry. For some reason, I really like clingers, gimme all that toxic codependent shit. Wait until she gets angry at you for merely talking to a female human. I feel like half the people in this thread don't know what stalking is, and the other half are so desperate that they think / they can put up with a stalker. If someone was legitimately stalking me before we ended up together I'd strongly consider breaking up with them. In fact, I probably wouldn't be with them in the first place for 2 reasons. 1, you pretty much always know you're being stalked. Stalkers aren't trying to be covert, they're trying to break boundaries with plausible deniability. All the guys in here who were like I never knew, well then you probably weren't actually being stalked. 2, there's usually other problematic behavior that goes along with it, like blowing up at other women they see you talking to or suddenly becoming insulting towards you with little warning. Actual stalking goes along with other red flags that make a relationship unlikely to take off to begin with. So in short, if she actually was my stalker, I'd feel hugely uncomfortable and consider ending the relationship. I mean, it depends on how you define stalker. I think most people here aren't using it the way you are. Totally understand what you are saying, though. Clever girl, oddly specific question, how does your boyfriend react? Well, the first time I told him it was nervous laughter, confusion, and but why? I'm just a random dude. Whenever I answered a question, then he'd just ask me about stuff I did before we were together. Most of the time it was unrelated, he just overthinks sometimes. I think there was a point where I said something and it just all made sense to him, because now he teases me for acting like a high schooler every once in a while lol. Yeah, he's fine with it. Well, as the old joke goes, what's the difference between a stalker and a girlfriend? It worked. That's actually a bit creepy. I'm okay with it now, but it was shocking when I first found out. We were close platonic friends for 2 years who suddenly realized we were right for each other. At least, I believed that was the story of our relationship. But it wasn't. She confessed that she'd been biding her time the whole way, even when I was confiding in her about my girlfriend. Also, that she knew the NFL but just played dumb so she could have me explain stuff to her. Also, we read the same books because she looked up my Goodreads profile. I'm flattered that she went to so much trouble to get me. But it's kind of disturbing how cunning, patient, and manipulative she can be when she wants something. My son, always be careful about a woman who plays dumb. That's how they get you. Depends how dumb they play it. It can also be very annoying. You forget that you're asking Reddit here, op. I think a lot of thirsty guys here would fuck a girl even if she was a serial killer or something. I hate to break it to you, this is exactly how teenage girls roll. If you dated someone in high school, there's about a 70% chance this already happened. I was going to say, I think most teenage girls are low-key stalkers. They can all be cunning, patient and manipulative when they want something.